Hello and welcome. Today I would like to talk about priority screening in systematic reviews. So I would like to give an overview, approaches, benefits and risk. So what is priority screening? So all systematic reviewers must be familiar with the term priority screening. So this is based on machine learning and text mining approaches to screen titles and abstract in a systematic review. So how does machine learning approach helps? It helps the reviewing software to learn to recognize citations that are likely to be included and excluded based on how researchers apply the screening criteria. So we need to train the machine learning algorithms using a subset of citations. And then these algorithms are used to prioritize screening based on inclusion criteria. So in a systematic review process, we need to screen a lot of titles and abstract. So this priority screening approach prioritizes the list of items for manual screening so that the studies at the top of the list are those that are most likely to be relevant. So we get the relevant studies to the top of the list. Citations are sorted iteratively so that those most likely to be eligible for inclusion in the review are screened first. So prioritizing these relevant citation speed up the screening process. So there are two popular approaches for priority screening. The first one, we need to manually screen all the records. The purpose is to increase the efficiency of the review process. I will explain it later. So the second approach involves only a portion of records are manually screened. So the purpose here is to reduce the number of records that need to be manually screened. So there are pros and cons for both the approaches. So let us see the first approach in more detail. So as I mentioned, we need to screen all the records. So then how this helps? So it increases the efficiency of the review process. So for instance, if we identify the relevant studies early on in the review process, you will become more clear about the inclusion criteria and also a better understanding. This increases the inter-reviewer agreement when you do the screening. And also it reduces the uncertainty around borderline includes. So just imagine when you are doing a systematic review and when you are doing title and abstract screening, if you get the relevant records early. So what happens here? So you also help to understand about the nature of the research studies, like what are the potential findings, and you'll be able to get an idea early on in the process. So there are several benefits of applying prioritizing in this way. So it's a very low risk approach and there is not much chance of missing any eligible studies because we are screening all the records. We are not leaving any single record without screening. So the second approach, we are only screening a partial. It's only a partial screening. So the purpose is very clear, to reduce the number of items to be screened. And when it is useful when you have a large number of records to screen. So the risk of eligible study appearing further down is very low, but there is a chance to miss the study. So we are not sure, because we are not manually screening all the records, so we are not sure whether there is an eligible study at the bottom of the list. So I would like to discuss more about the workload. So again, based on the purpose of priority screening, in the first approach, we need to screen all the records. So you may be like, it is very clear that the workload may not be reduced, but it is more efficient because we get the relevant records early on. So does priority screening using the second approach, like screening truncation, you are stopping the screening. After certain records, you are not screening all the records. Will it reduce the workload? Yes, because you need to screen only fewer number of titles and abstract. So if your purpose is screening truncation, you need to identify that when to stop screening, when to truncate. So there are criteria like when citations that fall beneath a specified probability of inclusion, for example less than 0.1%, are automatically excluded like that. So this is an area which is not standardized, work in progress. So there is no clear-cut guidance regarding when to apply the screening truncation. So this is not practiced widely because of small chance of missing relevant studies, and the need to identify various thresholds at which screening truncation may be safely performed. I would like to talk a little bit more about truncating the screening process. So as I mentioned before, there is no clear guidelines or standards available. Work is in progress. However, there are three potential ways of deciding when to stop the screening. Number one, having a set criterion based on resources, depends on how many people are available for title and abstract screening, time, whether you need to do the review process in a short time, and number of references available. Second potential way is having a set of criteria based on reaching a plateau where no new includes are found. For example, after 10,000 references or after 1,000 references. After 1,000 ineligible or excludes, we can decide that okay, now it is time to stop the screening process. So the number varies, you need to be carefully think about the review, depends on how many records are there, lot of considerations to be taken care of. So the third one is establish what we expect to be a baseline inclusion rate. That screen a random sample of studies to get an expected include rate and screen until those are identified. This is a most rigorous method, could combine with other two methods, but you need to do some calculations to identify the baseline inclusion rate. So it is very clear that there are certain benefits of priority screening, but there are also risks involved. So citation screening tools utilizing these functionalities have the potential to reduce workload by 30 to 70% as estimated by one report which is published in Journal of Clinical Epidemiology in 2017. An independent evaluation demonstrates priority screening using a peer reviewer can provide efficiency gains. That is also from another publication by Soy et al. In 2020. This retrospective evaluation of 6 systematic reviews using a peer reviewer's priority screening algorithm estimated potential reductions in screening between 9 to 60%. So there is a clear benefits of applying priority screening, but you need to be considering lot of factors. If you find this video useful and you got an overview about priority screening approaches and how we have to decide in our systematic review process. I have not gone into the details of how to set up priority screening in various software. We use a peer reviewer and there is certain way of setting the priority screening for the systematic review. There are guidelines available when using a peer reviewer and to set up the priority screening process. So thanks for listening. I have included the reference I used to prepare this video. Hope this video is useful. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.